first started dating my now ex-husband, I didn't realize the red flags that were coming up all the time. I thought that it was he loved me so much that he wanted to spend all his time with me. He was constantly checking up on me, following up on my phone calls, following me to see if I was truly going where I said. It happened quite frequently, but like I said, I thought it was just love, and I was looking for someone to care for me, so I just allowed it to happen. We then got married, subsequently had 2 children, and things progressively got worse. The following, the screening my phone calls, questioning where I was, timing how long it took me to get to and from work. There was abuse, verbal, physical, and mental towards myself and my children. Swinging, punching, constantly being called names. My self-esteem went from mediocre to nothing. And then on November 13th, 2008, my husband came home from being out, asked me who was in the home. I told him no one. I proceeded to go upstairs to go to bed. He followed me up, came into the bedroom. He started taking his belt off. I thought that he was getting ready to get undressed to go to bed. However, he then took the belt and put it around my neck. He proceeded to strangle me and tell me that I was lying, that I was there with someone else. And I began to fight for my life. I couldn't breathe. So I started to swat back at him. And he finally let go of the belt, and as I began to swing again to get away from him, he started to physically assault me. He punched me multiple times in my face, fractured my orbital bone, and ruptured my sinus cavity. Thank God my son was home, who heard the altercation. He wouldn't let me out of the room. He had the door locked, and I told him I had to use the restroom. So he finally let me out, and I went into my son's room, who saw my eye protruding out of its socket, and told him that Daddy had, beaten me up and we need to go to the hospital. My son then got up out of bed, and my ex-husband took all of our cell phones and the home phone and wouldn't allow me to call 911. But as we were walking down the steps, I had my pocketbook on my shoulder and remembered I had my cell phone. I called 911. He took the phone, but they had gotten the call through and had to come and investigate. I stayed in the house. He went outside. When the police got there, they came in and questioned me and asked what happened. My husband told them I had hit my head against the banister. And they also wanted to know why I didn't let them know he had a loaded gun in his pocket, which I had no knowledge of. They did believe me that he had beaten me up. They took me to the hospital. They took him off to the precinct to be pressed on charges. I later found out that he had rope and ties in the back of his truck. His intent was for me to get into his truck, and if I did, I wouldn't be here talking to you today. So when you see warning signs, recognize them. Don't tell yourself someone's just caring about you. It can become a life or death situation. And I'm just lucky after 25 years that I finally got out. When I got to the hospital, my parents were informed what happened. They came. And my mom didn't know where to turn to get me help, but she started looking in, which we don't have anymore, the telephone book, and found a place called DAP, Domestic Abuse Program in Media. She immediately contacted them, and I went after I was released from the hospital to start to get help. They helped me with a PFA, Protection from Abuse. They got me an advocate to go to court with me so I didn't have to feel I was alone. They also helped me talk to I forget what they're called, prosecution. The man who was doing the prosecution against my husband, to hear my side of the story. They helped me do my letter that I was to read in court. And they also started 2 weeks group group and individual therapy with me, which I took for 5 years. I finally then did graduate, but I'm still very active with that group, and feel that it's well needed for men, women, children, anybody who's going through this. It's 1 in 3 women that are dealing with domestic violence. That's a lot, and most people don't talk about it. And the shame needs to be taken away, and women need to be empowered to speak and hear their voice and let them be heard and get out of this horrible situation.